So in today's class, we are going to start with respect to next topic called as unsupervised machine learning. The next concept called as unsupervised machine learning, right? So we are going to discuss the deep learning neural networks on the Monday's class. So we can complete in meanwhile, today is Wednesday, right? Wednesday and Thursday, we can complete the clustering, and Friday. In these 3 days, we can complete this complete unsupervised machine learning. And from Monday onwards, we can start with respect to artificial intelligence part, that is deep learning. So you are having now 5 days with you to revise once again for the DL concepts. Revise once again the DL concepts with respect to the linear regression. The most important one is linear regression, and the second one is logistic regression. Okay, so prepare these two. So you are having 5 days of time. So revise once again this one and come ready with respect to for the DL next week. In meanwhile, we can complete the unsupervised machine learning, and we can close the machine learning part, right? Now, so in today's class, we are going to discuss the unsupervised machine learning. If you want, even I can start the DL also. There will be no difference. But the problem is, if you are not able to recolor the linear regression and logistic regression, again, it will be completely new for you. Some students has not prepared, and some students will be prepared. So just now, I'm just intimating now itself, so that for Monday's class, you will be prepared and will come, right? Now, what is unsupervised machine learning? Now, what is the difference between a supervised versus unsupervised? Till now, we have done the supervised machine learning, right? So for supervised or unsupervised machine learning, the first 3 stages of data science project will remain same. That is business problem understanding. After that, data understanding. Next, the data pre-processing. There is no difference in the till the data pre-processing stage. The difference starts only in the modeling, right? Now, what is with respect to unsupervised machine learning, supervised versus unsupervised? Supervised means where the output variable is available. We are having the output variable. Output variable is available, right? And we are going to do the prediction. Here we are going to do the prediction. And whatever the predicted values are there, that predicted values versus actual values. We have compared the predicted values versus actual values. If it is a regression problem is, we have compared between the prediction versus, we have predicted, but the prediction versus actual, we have compared by using RMSE or R square. Whereas for classification algorithms, we have done with based on the accuracy. And along with that, we have done the cross validation. For both of them, commonly, we have done the cross validation. So for classification algorithms, we have focused on the accuracy. For regression algorithms, we have focused on the RMSE or R-square values, right? Now, this is where we are having the predictive modeling. This supervised machine learning comes under predictive modeling, where we are going to predict the data. Now, when we are predicting something, whatever we are predicting, whether the prediction is correct or wrong, for that we are having with the actual values. The actual values are also original values. Original answers are also there. Okay, we are having the predicted y hat, whatever the predicted values of y, output values, and the original y. These both are there, and both the values we have compared, right? Whether it is a trained data or whether it is a test data, test accuracy or train accuracy, whatever it is, we have compared between the original versus predicted. Now, in the unsupervised machine learning, the output variable will not be there. The output variable is not available. If the output variable is available, this is called as labeled data. This is called as labeled data. Labeled means it is having some label, means some output, some value is there. Whereas this is called as unlabeled data. Unlabeled data. There is no output variable. Sir, there is no output variable means what is the meaning of that? Only X is there, no Y. No Y. Y itself not there. Only X. Everything comes under input variables only. No Y. Y word is itself not there. In that one of them, you already completed, which is called as PCA. PCA, there is no Y. For PCA, we have applied the PCA only on X. We have fitted the PCA, whatever the PCA model is there, PCA fit and transform on X train. PCF transform on the X test we have done. Never we have transformed on the Y train. PCF we have worked only on the X label. So input only we have worked. We have not worked on the output variable, which is a dimension reduction, which we have focused only on the X variable. Now again, we are going to work only on the X variable. There is no Y variable. Sir, if Y variable is not there, then what we are going to do? Then what we are going to predict? Just here, we are not going to do the prediction. Here, we are not going to predict any kind of output variable. Here, we are going to do the different things like called as clustering. We are going to do the clustering, means grouping. We are going to group the objects based on the whatever the X variable it is available. Without mentioning the Y variable, just we are going to group the data. Or we are going to do in terms of recommendation engines. There is no output variable. Only based on the input variable, we are going to estimate the values. And we are going to work on the association rules. This is also with respect to where there is no output variable. So in all the cases, there is no output variable, right? Sir, what is the difference between this output variable versus non-output variable? Means to be more precise, simplified. Let us assume here I am having some data set. The data set is students' data. Okay. Student name, one of the student name is there. Certain students' names are there. And their education background. Whatever the students are there, their education background is there. Number of data science projects. How many number of data science projects they have done? Okay. Number of data science certifications they have done. Okay. Each student, I am having the values. Next, what is their Kaggle rank? In terms of what is their Kaggle percentile? What is that Kaggle percentile? Whether they are in the top 5 percentile or top 2 percentile or top 1 percentile. I am having the data like this. Now, next one is with respect to called as some kind of skill set. What kind of skills they are having? Okay, I am having the data. Now, whether that particular student has got the job or not previously. This is the previous data. Previous data means till now in Naresh IT, whatever I have done before to 730 batches, whatever I have covered. Okay. Before to you, whatever the batches have completed, totally completed. Inside that, some students has got jobs, some students has not got the jobs, right? So whether the student has got the job, yes or no, whatever it is, yes or no's, right? Some students has got the job, some students has not got the job. Now this is the data set. The entire data set is this one. Now, if a new particular student is there, the student name is called as Rajesh and his experience is of 4 years. And number of data science projects he has done is 2. Data science certifications he has done 1. Kaggle rank is top 2 percentile. And skill set is very good, excellent. And whether he will get a job, yes or no. This we are going to do is called as classification algorithm. Where we are having the output variable. Based on the output variable and based on the input variable. Of course, this one we are going to drop. This particular column we are going to drop, and only using these X1, X2, X3, X4 and X5. Using these 5 columns, we are going to predict whether the person will get a job or not. In the future data, okay, this is the assume that this is whatever the data I have covered, the previous batches. This is the previous batches. There is one of the student from 730. This is 730 batch. One student name is there like this. Whether this student is going to get a job or not. From 730 batch, a student name is this one, years of experience and all these things are there, whether he will get a job or not. This comes under classification problem. Okay, this is a classification algorithm. So where we are having in terms of input data and output data, we are going to predict. First, this past data, whatever the past data is there, this we are going to use with respect to any classification algorithms like decision tree, SVM or logistic regression, whatever it is, we are going to apply. And on the future data, we are going to predict. The model.predict, we are going to use whatever the model is there, model.predict on the this particular thing. So model.predict and 4, 2, 1, 2, excellent will be encoded. After encoding whatever the number is there according to that number. What, for example, excellent is 0, assume. And we are going to give the input data like this and we are going to predict whether the output variable is yes or no. This we have done in the classification. Now, So in the classification, there is a past data. Based on the past data, we are going to predict the future data. Okay. This is my previous batches, whatever the students' data is there. And based on the students' data, I'm going to predict in the 730 batch, one student will get a job or not. Example is, this is classification algorithms, which you are already familiar with. Now, what is meant by clustering algorithm? For the same data set, just remove the output variable. There is no output variable. Whether the person will get a job or not, we are not having. But now, based on this data, whatever the data, in this sum of the students, which group they belongs to. For example, in this previous batches, whatever the students are there, I want to divide the students into two batches, two parts. Okay, two batches I want to I have decided the number. 2 is my number. Okay, so I have decided the number 2. I want the entire data into two parts. Two parts means not in the equal parts, that is first 10 records into one part, second 10 records, not like that. Which are the students are close to each other, means distance wise. Just I'm going to calculate the distance, and whose distance is very low, those distances records I'm going to combine. Means I'm going to group the students. Now in the future data, one student is there. Now this particular student, for example, let us take students. Okay, inside the students, we are having one group and one group. In one group, every student is having a good Kaggle rank, toppers. Everyone are having a good Kaggle rank, or with respect to good amount of skill set or excellent skill set is there. And in one student, average students are there. Okay, their Kaggle rank or their skill set is average. Now there is a one student, whether this particular student on the future data, whether this student belongs to this one or whether he belongs to this one. Is that clear? So just this everything is calculated based on the distance formula, completely distance formula. Just we are going to calculate the distance between each of the record, and if the distance is close to this one means we are going to throw this person into this batch. If the distance is close means this batch. Is that clear? So just here we are going to group the objects. There is no Y label. There is no Y label. Just we are going to group the records. Whatever the records are there, we are just grouping the records. Is called as clustering algorithm. Clustering means grouping. Again, recommendation engine is also same. Where there is no output variable is available. Only the input variable will be there. Sir, if output variable is there, is not there, then how we are going to evaluate? Evaluation can be done if the original answer and predicted answer, both the answers are there, then you can evaluate. Whether it is error wise, whether it is classification wise, something you are going to evaluate. But here there is no Y only, there is no predicted Y only. No Y and predicted Y is not there, then how we are going to evaluate? So there is no evaluation. In clustering, there is no evaluation. Sir, if there is no evaluation, then how we are going to identify whether we have done correct one or wrong? So all this one we are going to observe one by one, right? So here the pattern is entirely different pattern. So here there is no X-train X-test. So we'll be having the X-train X-test, okay. X-train X-test, okay. But there is no, with respect to called as Y-train Y-test. We are not going to predict the model on X-train, and we are not going to save the values. Just what we are going to do is, just whatever the data they have given to us, we are going to group them, and we are going to predict on the future data. Model.predict on the future data, and we are going to cluster. Right? You will understand one by one in the theory part and along with the coding part. Okay, let us move on one by one. So here clustering. What is meant by clustering means grouping of similar objects. Grouping of similar objects into one group, grouping of dissimilar objects into one group. Okay, right? So that is called as clustering. Clustering means just grouping of similar objects into one, dissimilar objects into one. So in this class, students are there. Okay, girls are there, boys are there. Clustering the girls into one part, boys into one part. Right? So girls generally sit in the left side of the class. Why miss? There is no reason. By default, they'll come and they'll sit in the left side only. Every time. Whether it is in that class or in this class, fix. Right? There is no reason for that. Just they are grouping. They are grouping in terms of, is there an output variable for that? Based on the output variable, have you decided? Nothing. So just based on the input variable, just the girl students comes together and they'll sit in the one location, right? So that is called as clustering. Okay, so grouping of similar objects, grouping of the objects which are similar to each other into one, grouping of dissimilar objects into one, right? So this is with respect to cluster 1, cluster 2, cluster 3, just where you are going to group them, which are similar objects, just you are going to group them, right? Now here, the difference between the classification versus clustering means, so in the classification, we are having the labeled data. So when there is a labeled data, the output variable is available. So whatever the data we are having, this is the past data. From here to here, it is the past data. This past data we are going to use for the modeling, and using the model, you are going to predict the answer. Once the model is decided, you are going to predict the next one, right? Just a minute. Okay, so once the model is done, using your modeling, you are going to create a decision tree. Whatever the data is there, you are going to create a decision tree. From the decision tree, you are going to predict on the future data. So here in the unlabeled data set, what we are going to do is just we are going to group them. Just we are going to segment them. We are going to group which are the similar objects. Just we are going to do the segmentation. Segmentation is also nothing but grouping. Grouping is also called as clustering. Algorithm is called as clustering. Okay. Now here, what are the applications where we are going to use this cluster algorithms? Means like in the marketing or retail industries. Like we are identifying which type common patterns in the customers. So for example, we'll get a message, one SMS, stating that from the bank, you are a valuable customer. And we are providing for you valuable customer. We are providing the personal loan at the interest of personal loan, whatever the personal loan, at the rate of interest of 12.2, something, 12.25, whatever the percentage. Okay, 10.25 or 12.25 or 11 point, whatever it is. So they're going to send, you are a valuable customers, and we are sending this personal loan. We are offering for you a personal loan, a special offer. This special offer is sent only for you. No, this special offer was sent to all the customers who belongs to similar kind. So within the bank, they are going to observe the transactions, and based on the transactions, whoever the customers has done the based on the transactions, they are going to observe. For example, one customer and second customer, third customer, we are having different customers are there. First customer, whatever the salary he is getting, he is spending on with respect to some kind of electronics. He is buying some kind of electronic gadgets, right? Like a mobile phone or TV or whatever it is. He is spending on the electronics. And one person after salary creditation, he is spending on the some kind of, he is purchasing some kind of gold. He is investing in the gold. And the third customer, whatever the salary he has got, now he is saving that one as a fixed deposit. He is keeping every salary in the fixed deposit. And once the year is completed, he will release all the fixed deposit amounts and he will buy any particular thing. Okay, these are the different types of customers are there. So each customer, based on their patterns, what they are purchasing, according to that, they are going to release the offers. For example, if the bank is having any kind of gold scheme is there, only to the persons who are investing on the gold, they will send that one. So in the bank statement, they will see with respect to jewelries, right? On for what you have spent. You have went to ATM and you have withdrawal means ATM withdrawal. They'll come, the statement will have the ATM withdrawal, right? The word of ATM withdrawal. If you have sent that phone pay, you have done the phone pay means in the statement phone pay word will be there, right? Who is going to use more phone pay? Who is using the phone more Google Pay? Or who is using more with respect to Paytm? Or who is using with respect to more ATM withdrawals? They'll identify, right? All of them they'll identify, and according to that they are going to group the objects. So who are commonly applying the ATM, commonly going for the ATM, and every 1 week or every 2 days once or every 3 days once they are going for the ATM and they are withdrawing the money. For them, they are going to send a different offer. That unlimited ATM transactions. Generally, five ATM transactions only free, right? After that, it is chargeable. But if you select a particular account, bank account, one type of account is there where you will have the unlimited ATM transactions, means multiple times you can withdraw the amount. Even 500 times also per month you can withdraw. There is no limit on that, right? So this is required for who? The persons who are going with the ATM. For example, the person has went for ATM almost 5 months back. In this recent 5 months, he has not even went for ATM. If you send one message to this person who has not even went to ATM, he will be interested towards this account. Huh? No, right? Waste of time. Sending the message also waste of time. So the bank is not going to send all the messages to all the customers. The bank will send the related messages to related customers so that they want to attract them. Sir, for example, if I'm seeing the YouTube, in the YouTube, I'm going to get some kind of ad with respect to upgrade data science. Data science is having a good career or something, I'm going to get an ad. Whenever I open the YouTube, whenever there is an ad, I will get the ad related to data science, because in my YouTube, whatever the search button is there, inside the search button, I have clicked multiple times data science word. So it has observed that pattern. The pattern was observed, so it is showing the data science. It will not show the full stack development advertisement for me. It knows that I am not be interested in the full stack. I will not click on that ad also. If it is having the data science ad, obviously there is a high probability that I will click on that ad. That is nothing but recommendation engines. So recommendation engines works on whatever you are checking more, right? Again, that one also works on the distance formula only. Everything are working on the distance formula only. Distance tells how much close is to you, that one. Okay, distance, whatever the distance formula is there, that Euclidean distance, that distance will tell us how much close it is to you. For example, you are having only one column. In that one column, you are having 22, 24, 28, 36, 22, 24, something you are having like this. For this record, what is the closeness of this one? What is the closeness of this one? What is the closeness? What is the closeness? And what is the closeness? Out of all the records, which is more close? 22 for the 22 age person, 22 age person only will be more close, obviously. 36% will not be close to 22, right? This in this class only, if there is a person, already experienced person is there in this class, assume, in the offline class. Okay, assume there is a experienced person. He will not be that much of close to the fresher. He will show some kind of attitude that I'm already working proficient. He will have that attitude in this class. Is there any person, experienced persons in this class? All are freshers, sir. All are freshers, sir. Wow. Okay. Generally, if it is some kind of, offline students and online students, just the persons who are freshers, they'll be together. For example, suddenly in this class, some experienced people are sitting with you simultaneously. First day, they will interact with you. They'll ask, okay, I'm fresher. You will say that I'm fresher. He will say that I'm having 2 years or 3 years experience. From next day onwards, he will show some kind of attitude in front of you, that he is already a working professional. He'll not be that much of interested. But freshers will be very close. And experienced persons also will be very close. Right? Just the same common pattern. These all the things are common pattern which they have observed in the real life. We are saying about 90% of the cases. Don't say about 100%. Sir, I'm experienced also. I'm not having attitude. Don't say that one. Okay, you might be exceptional. You comes under 10% category. 90% of the people, whatever the common thing is there, that they have observed. That observation, whatever they have observed in the real life, in the between the humans, the same thing they have converted as the machine learning algorithm. Right? So here, whatever the banking industry or marketing industry and insurance industry, all of them, they are going to identify with respect to the common thing. Whatever the common parameters are there, that common parameters they are going to observe. Right? And based on the observation of the common parameters, they are going to group the together. And for those people, they are going to have with respect to whatever the offers. Okay, as I have told you, bank is going to send only credit card offers. Credit card offers will be sent to a person. So I will get a message, sir, you are having a credit card offer. Why credit card offer they are asking to me? Why they are not asking with respect to any kind of gold investment or in terms of anything others? They are not asking. They are asking with respect to credit card because I have shown them some interest in the credit card. Somewhere I have filled the form related to credit card. I have not filled the form related to gold schemes. So the form which I have filled related to credit card, they have grouped all the credit card customers. In that form, they'll be right which one you are, which particular product you are interested, either gold or credit card or personal loan or bank, business loan or something like this. Right? Till 2 months back, I have never got the call. One time also, I have never get the call related to business loan. But last in 1 month, I am getting multiple calls related to business loan. Sir, we are going to provide you the business loan. Like this, they have provided. Because recently I have filled the one form wherever in some website I have filled somewhere. I don't remember myself. Somewhere I have filled that I required the business loan. Immediately, the data was distributed among the companies. My data was distributed among the companies and I'm getting multiple calls. Right? Related to business loan. Okay. For example, if I went to any kind of website and I have filled related that I'm interested in commercial property, immediately I will get the messages. Very excellent commercial building is available in Amirpet, which is at low cost, which is only 5 CR. For them, 5 CR is low cost. They will send like that. Right? To attract us. So in order, sir, you select the commercial property, sir, we'll only give the loan. Select whatever you want. They'll say like this. Right? So what, just they're identifying the common things. Clustering. They're just grouping the things. Okay, it is one of the most important in the banking industry. In the banking industry, clustering will be done, classification will be done. Loan prediction is classification algorithm, selecting the customers and sending the messages to the customers. To which customers, which type of messages has to send is clustering algorithm. Right? Now, so this all belongs to clustering examples. Now, within the clustering also, we are having multiple algorithms are there, out of which the first algorithm is K-means clustering. The first algorithm is K-means, one of the easiest algorithm and most standard algorithm. Right? Now, sir, if there is an accuracy what is there? We are going to compare between the algorithms in the classification between KNN or SPM or logistic regression. We have compared based on the test accuracy. Here there is no test accuracy. Then how we are going to compare which algorithm is best? Here we are going to combine all the algorithms in the single one only. How? We are going to see one by one. Okay. So first, K-means clustering. What is meant by K-means clustering means again grouping of similar objects. This comes under partition clustering. This is comes under partition clustering. So basically we are having 3 types of clustering techniques are there. Just a minute. I have missed something. So after the applications, we are having 3 types of clustering are there. One is called as partition based clustering. Second one is called as hierarchical clustering. Third one is called as density based clustering. Partition based clustering is K-means clustering. K-means clustering comes under this partition based clustering. Second one is hierarchical clustering. Directly the name itself, hierarchical clustering. The next one is density based clustering, which is called as DB scan clustering. Okay. So partition based clustering and hierarchical based clustering, and next one is DB scan based, that is density based clustering. Total 3 types of clustering are there and 3 algorithms are there. One is called as K-means, one is called as K-means, one is called as hierarchical, one is called as density based. We'll see one by one. 3 of them we'll see one by one. Right? So first one, let us start with the K-means, that is partition based clustering. K-means algorithms where it is going to combine the clusters, where it is going to group the clusters, which is non-overlapping. Non-overlapping means, for example, in this class, students are there, 30 students are there. We have created 2 batches, 2 groups. The 30 students belongs to 2 groups. In one group, 20 students are there. In one group, 10 students are there. It is not mandatory that both of them should be equal. There is no rule like that. Sir, in this 15 students, in this house of 15 students, there is no rule like that. Maybe 28 students comes under one group and 2 students only comes under one group. For example, these 2 students are having 5 years experience. They are separate. All the 28 students are freshers, means they are separate. Right? Now, here I'm having something like this, where the student will not be in the, one student will not be available in the both the groups. Commonly, it is not available. Either he belongs to this group or this group, not both. Okay. Is that clear? So here we are having non-overlapping subsets. Whatever the groups are there, the groups are non-overlapping. They will not have any common thing. No record will belongs to both the classes. It not belongs to both the classes, right? So examples within the cluster are very similar. Whatever the within the one cluster, whatever the objects are there, they'll be very similar to each other. And the clusters with respect to examples across different clusters will be different. There will be different, right? Now, here in the K-means clustering, we have to understand two types of distances. One is called as intra-cluster and one is called as inter-cluster. One is called as intra. One is called as inter. Okay. So, what is meant by intra and what is meant by inter? Intra means within the cluster. Within the cluster, distance between records. Within the cluster, distance between records is called as intra. Inter means outside the cluster, cluster to cluster, outside the cluster, distance between records. Right? Done? Now, example. Let us take an example like this. Age, where I am having 22, 24, 22, 23, 21, 36, 45. Something I am having like this. Now, out of these, 21, 22, 24, and 22, and 23. These 5 records, first 5 records belongs to one cluster. These 2 records, 36 and 45 belongs to one cluster. The distance between the two records, between the distance between the two values, whatever the distance is there, this will be very low. If you calculate between 21 and 22 or 21 and 24, when compared to this one, the distance will be very low. Whereas the distance between 21 versus 36, distance will be very high. Okay, this is called as intra, this is called as inter, this is called as intra. This is called as inter and this is called as intra. Intra means within the cluster, whatever the records are there. If you compare this record with other cluster record, that is called as inter. The distance between, for example, distance between square root of 21 minus 24 whole square. You are calculating these two. Distance between these two records. That is nothing but this record versus this record. You are calculating the distance. Then it is called as intra-cluster. Intra-cluster distance. If you are calculating the distance between 21 versus 36, if you are calculating this one, then it is called as inter-cluster. Because this is under, and the under cluster it is there. This is inside this cluster it is there. Right? So here, the intra and inter, whatever the intra and inter is there, intra-cluster distances should be minimum. The minimum the intra, the more the perfect clustering we have done. The distance between inter should be very high. Difference between the cluster to cluster, the distance should be very high. Is that clear? Done? So what is meant by distance? For example, I'm having the age and 2 records are there. Record 1 is 54, record 2 is 50. Now what is meant by distance means square root of 54 minus 50 whole square. Square root of 54 minus 50 whole square. For example, you are having 2 columns. You are having 2 columns, column 1 and column 2. For example, one more column also is there, that is income, where first person is having 190, second person is having 200. That is, you are going to add 190 minus 200 whole square. 200 minus 190 or 190 minus 200, because whole square you are going to do. Right? If you are having third column, one more column also is there. That is education. Is the column name, where the education is 3, education is 8. 3 minus 8 whole square. If you are having fourth column whole square, fifth column whole square. The distance between 2 records we are going to calculate like this. Is that clear? So for example, let us take an example age 21, 22, 21, 22, 23, 24, 36, 45. Something I am having like this. Distance between first record versus second record. This is student number 1, student number 2, student number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, student 7, student 8. 8 students are there. Now distance between student 1 versus distance between student 2. What is the distance? Square root of 21 minus 22 whole square, which is nothing but square root of 1 square, which is 1. Right? Distance between S1 versus S3. Square root of 21 minus 21 whole square, that is square root of 0 square, which is 0. Distance between S1 versus S4. Square root of 21 minus 22 whole square, which is again square root of 1 square, 1. Distance between S1 versus S7. Square root of 21 minus 36 whole square, which is square root of 15 square, which is 15. So like this, you are going to calculate from the each student to other student the distance. From the first student, you are going to calculate, for the first student, you are going to calculate the distance between 1, distance 2, distance 3, distance 4, distance 5, distance 6, distance 7. 7 distances you have to calculate. For student 1, you have to calculate 7 distances. For student 2, already student 1 distance already calculated. So now you have to calculate the distance with respect to student 1, student 2 versus student 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you have to calculate for student 2, 6 distances you have to calculate. For student 3, you have to calculate 5 distances. For student 7, you have to calculate only 1 distance with respect to S site. Because already student 1 versus student 2 is already completed. Again, you no need to calculate the distance between student 2 versus student 1. It is waste of time. Right? So how it is going to work means just it is going to take the matrix only, distance matrix. In the back end, it is going to apply the distance matrix. Total how many records are there? Each record will be considered into each column. 200 records are there means 200 columns. 10,000 records are there means 10,000 columns. 1 lakh records are there means 1 lakh columns. So S1, S2, S3, S4, S5, S6, S7, S8. Similarly, S1, S2, S3, S4, S5, S6, S7, S8. So it is going to calculate from each student to other student, whatever the distances are there. Distance between S1 and S1 is 0. S2 versus S2, S3 versus S4. This diagonal is going to be 0. Right? And the distance between S1 and S2, we are going to calculate and we are going to fill the value. Similarly, for S2 also. So we are going to focus either on upper triangle matrix or lower triangle matrix. Both will be the same, where the diagonal elements are going to be 0. So if it is a small data set only, it will take so much of time. For example, 1 lakh records are there means it will take still more time. So the KNN algorithm, how the KNN algorithm works in the similar way, this K means also works. Same concept of Euclidean distance once again. Okay. If you in the KNN already we have discussed the distance concept, that is Euclidean distance or Manhattan distance. Again, here also we are going to work on the same concept called as distance, which is Euclidean distance. Now, for example, I'm having only 2 columns are there. Okay, I'm having only 2 columns, that is X1 and X2. Okay, some values of X1, some values of X2. Now, using this X1 and X2, I have drawn the scatter plot, the original data. Now, this original data, initial, that is X1 column versus X2 column. This is the scatter plot. For this scatter plot, after K-means clustering, it is converted like this. Before K-means clustering, this is the original scatter plot. And after K-means clustering, I identified which are belongs to same clusters. Sir, whether two clusters you have to select, or 3 clusters we have to select, or 4 clusters we have to select, that will be decided. We'll see one by one. Right? Now, what are the steps involved means? These are the steps. First step is we have to choose the number of K clusters. That is the first step. Step number 1 is you have to choose the number of K clusters. Step number 2 is whatever the number of K clusters you have chosen, that number of random points you have to keep on the scatter plot. Wherever you are interested, you keep the random point. Wherever you are interested. For example, I have chosen K is equal to 2. First point, second point, somewhere. Wherever you are interested, randomly you write the 2 points. It is not necessarily from your data set. Randomly you are going to take. Okay. Now from this random points, you are going to calculate the distances for each and every record. For this random, for example, I'm having, let us take like this. Assign the each data point to the closest centroid. Centroid means whatever the initial random points you have taken, 2 random points. These 2 random points, you have to think yourself as a centroid. Assume. and you assign that one nearest to the centroids. And now again calculate the real centroid, that is the assumption centroid. Now you calculate the real centroid. After calculating the new centroid, if the data points are also similar to the original one, then it is okay. Otherwise, you have to change. So please write these steps. I will explain one by one. Write in your notes all these 5 steps. We'll discuss one by one with the example. Done? Done, guys? So let us take a data set like this. Okay, let us take a data set. So some data points, scatter plot. I have drawn the scatter plot based on the 2 variables. That is, one is age column and one is income column, or whatever it is. Some 2 columns I have considered, and whatever the values are there, I have taken the scatter plot. Okay. Now, this is the original data. That is x1 versus x2. You know how to draw the scatter plot for the given data, right? You are having 2 values miss. Just you have to plot whatever the first value is there. Just you have to keep a dot. It's called a scatter plot. Now, here, first I'm going to start k is equal to 2. For example, so what are the steps? In the steps, what is the first step? First, you have to take the number of k value, some number. If k is equal to 1 means everything belongs to one cluster. There is no question. No need of doing the clustering algorithm also. So k should start minimum with 2. If there is a 2, starting with 2. Now what I'm going to do, step 1 is I'm going to choose the number of k is equal to 2. I'm going to write my 2 data points. First data point, wherever I want to draw, this is 1. I'm drawing 1. Second data point, I'm going to draw here. Okay, one data point I have drawn here, one data point I have drawn here. Whatever the k is equal to 2 is that 2 data points. These are the 2 data points. I am assuming these 2 are centroids. What is meant by centroid? Centroid is nothing but center position value, which is in the center, that is called as centroid. How to calculate the centroid? For example, you are having a data set like this. That is age and experience. 22, 21, 24. Experience of 0, and 4. Something you are having like this. Assume. Now, how to calculate the centroid? Centroid is with respect to 22 plus 21 plus 24 divided by 3, comma, 0 plus 0 plus 4 divided by 3. This is called as centroid position. Whatever the x comma y value you have got, that point, if you draw the point on the scatter plot, that is called as centroid. Okay, this is called as centroid, which is the average value of records. Right? Now, here, I'm going to consider these 2 are assuming centroids. I have drawn randomly. Wherever you want, you draw. For example, you are not interested here. You are interested somewhere here. Okay. Wherever you are interested, draw 2 points. Now, after drawing the 2 points, now, first you take this record, first data point. For this data point, calculate black or calculate the distance between the pink. Okay. Whatever the black color versus pink color is there, calculate the 2 distances. Now, which distance is low? Pink or black? Black color is low. So, convert this one to black color. This data point was converted to black. Now, for this data point, calculate the distance between black versus the distance between pink. Again, black color is close. Convert to black. Again, black color is close. Whichever the distances are black color is close, convert that one to black colors. Whichever the distances are close to pink, convert to pink colors. For example, this is close to pink. Assume. Okay. This is close to pink. And this point is close to black. And this point is with respect to black or pink. This is pink and this is also pink. Assume. Assume. Now, whatever the pink colors you are having, take the average value. Take the average of all the pink colored dots. Whatever the pink colored dots are there, take the average value. Now, average value of the pink colored dot is, it will come with respect to the center position. This pink color will come to this position. This is the center position of the pink colors. Similarly, the black color, take the average of all the black colors. This position will change to this position. Okay. Now you are having this, instead of this one and this one, you are having this one. This is the one and the pink color. Now you have got this one. From here to here, you have brought. Now again, for this new position, whatever the new position centroids are there, these are called as centroids. Whatever you have assigned, they are called as centroids. Now you have calculated the centroid. This is now actual centroid. Again, from the actual centroid, again recalculate once again. Once again, you recalculate for each distances. For this data point, whether black color is close or pink color is close. Like this, you calculate for each and every data point. Now, automatically, this data point, this black color was converted to pink color. This one will be converted to pink color. This will be very close to pink. Now it will be converted. At least one data point change also. Again, you have to recalculate your centroid. Again, you have to recalculate the centroid. Now, earlier you have calculated the centroid. Now, by adding this one, centroid value will change, right? The centroid will change. Now, this I have got the new centroid as this one. For this black centroid is this one. This is the back centroid. This is centroid 1 and this is centroid 2. Now, again, from each data point, calculate to the black to the pink once again for each and every data point. If at least one value changes, means again you have to calculate the centroid. If the black color and pink color are not changing, all the data points, for example, now black data points or pink data points are fixed. No changes, no modification. One data point also not converted from pink to black or black to pink. None of the changes was there, means now these all of them belongs to one cluster. This belongs to one cluster. Okay. So these 5 records belongs to one cluster. These all the records belongs to one cluster. Like this, we are going to close the clustering. Is that clear? So see once again, choose the number of k clusters. Step 1. Step 2 is select random points. So I'm selecting the random points. See here, I'm choosing the random points randomly. These are the 2 data points. One is blue and one is red. 2 random points I have chosen. From each data point, I'm calculating to the blue. From each data point, I'm calculating the red. And if it is close to red means I'll convert the data point to red. If it is close to blue means I'll convert the data point to blue. Okay. Now, like this I have converted. Okay. Now, within the red data points, now I am calculating the centroid. Now I am going to calculate actual centroid. Now this is the actual centroid and the position was changed. Originally, I have assumed that that is the centroids. Now I have calculated. For my calculated, whether whatever the new position is there, now again the distances I am going to calculate once again. Now if I calculate the distances, these 2 are coming now to red. This data point is converting to blue color. Means at least one data point change also. So the data point was changed. Now these 2 data points has been turned to red color. This one is changed to blue color. Now automatically centroid also will change, right? As the data point changes, centroid changes. So now you have to again recalculate the new centroid. Now for the new centroid, again you have to calculate the distances. And the process will be continued till all the values are not changing. Before to that and after to that, your assumption and your actual one, if both are same, till that it is moving like this and finally it will close. Is that clear? K-means clustering is clear now. Now, sir, you have taken the 2 centroids. Okay, k is equal to 2. Okay, sir, fine. Now for the same example, take the k is equal to 3. So one is blue. Take the random point here, one random point. Second one, take it as this one. Take the third one with this one. 3 random points you have collected. Now, for each one, you calculate the distance with all the 3. This data point, you calculate the distance to pink. This data point, you calculate the distance to this point. This one, you calculate the distance to this point. Now, if the distance is close to pink, means convert to pink. If it is close to orange, means convert to orange. If it is close to blue, means convert to blue. After conversion, you calculate whichever the blue data points are there, calculate the centroid. Whichever the orange points are there, calculate the centroid of the orange points. Whichever the pink points are there, calculate the distance of pink points. Now, again, you do that one. So, again, recalculate once again. New centroid, again, you check with respect to the values. Again, if the data values changes, means according to that. Step by step, same. Whatever you are going to do for 2, same thing you are going to for 3. For same thing you are going to do for 4. Same thing you are going to do for 5. Everything remains same. Okay. So, for 2, I have shown you, right? Step by step. So, first you are going to select 2 data points randomly. Randomly. Pure random. There is no rule that you have to keep these 2 data points here only. You are feeling these are the 2 random points are centroids. From your perspective, you are feeling. But actually, it is correct or wrong? How to check that one? First, we have to convert the red data points and we have to calculate the centroid, actual centroid. If the actual centroid and your assumption centroid both are same, means you have to stop. If the both are different, means you have to continue. Simple. The logic is very simple. So it is going to continue until the movement is not changed. It will continue. Once it is fixed, means fixed. Okay. So for your understanding, let us take a simple example. Data point 1, data point 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, something. Okay, randomly I have drawn. 6 data points I have drawn. Take 2 centroids. Centroid 1. Centroid 2. Okay. Now for these 2 centroids, just calculate whether this data point is close to brown or close to blue. Which data points are close to brown? This one is close to brown, and this is blue, and this one is with respect to either blue or brown. So if the distances are same, means either it will be converted to brown or it will convert to blue. Okay. So for example, this is brown. Okay. Now these three are blue, 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 blue. This is the step number 1. After step number 1, now it is calculating actual centroid. This is the random initialization. Now it is calculating the actual centroid. Now actual centroid was brought to here. Okay. Actual centroid of brown was brought to here. Now, again it is calculating for this data point, whether it is close to this one, or it is very close to this one. This is the centroid. Whether this data point is close to this one or this one. It is close to this one only. So brown. This one is close to brown only. This is also close to brown. This is close to blue. This is close to blue. This is close to blue. Means no changes. Whatever the previous step assigned the data points, now the change in the data points is no. Before it is blue, now also it is blue. Before it is brown, now also it is brown. No changes. No changes means stop here itself. Stop here itself and convert this one to one cluster and this one as one cluster. If changes are there, means you have to calculate the new centroid according to that. If no changes are there, means stop. Is that clear now? Done? So, how to choose the number of K clusters? How that K value will be chosen? That is the most important. This is the interview question in the K-means. Within the K-means, this is the 100% guarantee interview question. Within the clustering, this is guarantee question. Out of all the clustering algorithms, K-means is the best algorithm. So for the best algorithm, how we are going to choose the K value? In the KNN, how we are going to choose the K value? Which gives with respect to good test accuracy, which is neither overfitted or underfitted, which is having the highest test accuracy that we are going to select just by applying the hyperparameter tuning, grid set CV, where we are going to give different K values. Here also the same thing. First you are going to take K is equal to 1. Everything belongs to one cluster. Everything belongs to one cluster means now you are going to calculate the distance WCSS value. WCSS. What is meant by WCSS means within cluster. W stands for within. C stands for cluster. S stands for sum of. S stands for squares of distances. Within cluster, sum of the squares of distances. Okay. So within the cluster, sum of the squares of distances. So here, this is the centroid. K is equal to 1 means only one cluster. This is the actual centroid. Now what you are going to do? You are going to calculate the distance. You will get some distance value. Distance. With all the distances, you calculate all the distances. Distance. You calculate. After calculating all the distances, you do the sum of the distances. You do all the sum of the squares of distances and you will get some value. Write that value. When K is equal to 1, completed. Now K is equal to 2. K is equal to 2 means after clustering. First we have to do the clustering algorithm. Once the clustering is completed, now we will be finalized with the final centroids, right? Last final centroids. These centroids, you are going to calculate the distances. Distance. Like this, you are going to calculate for each and every data point. And similarly, whatever the sum of the squares of distances of this one, similarly, sum of the squares of distances of this one. You are going to add both of them and you will write that value, WCSS value. Now, next, K is equal to 3. Means now 3 clusters you have got. 3 clusters, again, you are going to calculate the distances like this. For each distance, you are going to calculate the sum of the squares of distances. Similarly, this one also, sum of the squares of distances. Sum of the squares of distances. Again, you are going to add. Next, K is equal to 4. K is equal to 5. K is equal to 6. So, for example, I am having, let us take a data set. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 data points are there. If you are going with only one cluster, single cluster, you are calculating the distance. 4 distances you are going to take. 4 distances, you are going to do the sum of the squares. Sum of 4 distances you are going to do. For example, you are having 2 clusters. This is the cluster 1. This both belongs to cluster 1 and these both belongs to cluster 2. Now you are going to calculate the distance of this one with that distance of these two. Now sum of the distance of these two distances, sum of the distance of these two distances, so you are going to combine, right? Now automatically when compared to first one, the WCSS will be more or less. Distance is more or less. It will be less only, right? Because the centroid was brought to very close. Now, for example, for these 4 data points, I have made into 4 clusters. Each one is each cluster. Now, what is the centroid? Centroid and the data point both are same only, right? Only one data point is there. That is the data point. That is only the center also. So now this one, now what is the sum of the distances for this one? 0. This is 0, 0, 0, 0. If you do the sum is automatically it is also 0. As the number of clusters increases, the WCSS values always decreases. 4 data points are there, miss. Automatically the distance will be low. For example, k is equal to 1 is there. Center only 1 is there. Automatically the distances will be very high. If 2 of them are there, now the distance is low, right? Automatically when comparatively the distance will be low. Similarly, if you calculate the distance, this distance and this distance will be low. When compared to these 4, these distances are small, right? As k increases, WCSS always decreases. Always decrease. Every time it will decrease only. As the k increases, WCSS value always decreases. So now I'm going to plot the curve between this WCSS versus number of clusters. So cluster is equal to 1 means first time I will get the maximum distance. Second one, I will get the distance. For 3 clusters, WCSS value. For 4 clusters, WCSS value. I'm just making the line plot. On the x-axis, just I'm taking the number of clusters versus WCSS. For k is equal to 1, you will get WCSS, right? For k is equal to 2, you will get WCSS value. For k is equal to 3, WCSS. K is equal to 4, WCSS. K is equal to 5, WCSS. For everything, you are going to calculate the WCSS. Now, after all of them, now you have to identify which is the optimum number of clusters means by using the elbow method. We are going to use the elbow method. Wherever the curve was changed drastically. So before to that, the difference will be very large. From here, the difference will be very small. This is the point. The point is this one. From where there is a change in the WCS is minute. There is no much change. Whereas WCSS for 1 and 2, there is a drastic change. So if you observe here, so the change for k is equal to 1, 8,000. WCSS value is 8,000. For k is equal to 2, WCSS value is 3,000. What is the difference in WCSS? 5,000 is the difference. From k is equal to 2 to k is equal to 3, what is the difference? 2,000. From k is equal to 3 to k is equal to 4, some difference will be there. Some k is equal to 4 to 5, some difference is there. Now the difference is very minimum. The change is very minimum. The starting point where the change has started minimum changes, that starting point is considered as the optimum number of clusters. Is that clear? Right? Done, guys? Now, just we are identifying the optimum number of clusters by using the elbow technique. This is called as elbow technique, where there is a minimum change in the difference. Of course, 100% there is a difference. There will be difference. Everything are decreasing means obviously difference will be there. But the change will be low. The change is very low. So the change, wherever the change is very low, that particular change, which is the starting point, which made the change as very low, drastically, suddenly that has dropped, that particular point is considered as optimum number of clusters. This is called as elbow technique. Okay. Elbow technique. So for 0 to 1 and from 1 2 to 3 and 3 to 4, 4 to 5, if you calculate the difference in WCSS, wherever the difference is very minimum, that one, right? If you go to the last one, this one also will be low only, some difference will be there. But from when compared to the difference between 3 and 4 and the difference between 4 and 5, the difference will be almost close to each other. There'll be no much change. So much change is not there, means this is the best one. There is no much change, means the starting one is the best one. Is that clear? In that way, we are going to identify the optimum number of clay clusters. Right? Now, the question is, there is an interview question. What is the interview question is, there is a problem in the K-means. There is a problem. The problem is called as random initialization trap. What is the problem, you know? So for example, this is the clusters. Okay. Now tell me what is the difference between these two? You can see the difference. Here also 3 clusters, that same data set. Data set is same. Clusters also 3 only. This is also 3 clusters. This is also 3 clusters. Clusters are same. Data is same. But grouping of objects are different. In this case, we have got the cluster 1, cluster 2 and cluster 3. Whereas in this example, whatever the example in this case, this is entirely cluster 1, cluster 2, cluster 3. What now in these 2 cases, the K is same, but the records are different. So why we have got like this? The problem why means that is called as random initialization. Because you, for example, you have initialized the values like this. Randomly you have initialized the values like this, means the 3 clusters, it is going to form like this. For example, you have reinitialized like this. The 3 random points are reinitialized like this. Now in this case, the clusters are formed in this way. Based on your random initialization, it depends on your random initialization. What type of random initialization you have done. Right? If the random initialization, red, blue and green, you have taken like this, you have formed like this. If the random initialization is done red with green and blue like this, it is forming like this. The problem is with respect to random initialization. So if you make a wrong random initialization, the answer also will be wrong. Now what is the solution, miss? K means plus plus for this. Okay. So that is the interview question. 90% of the students will fail to answer this question. What is the problem in K-means, miss? The problem in K-means is random initialization trap. So the complete K-means clustering depends upon your random initialization. The way of your random initialization, it is getting dependent. If you have initialized randomly wrongly, miss, wrong answers you will get. If you have initialized correctly, miss, you will get correctly. That is the problem in the K-means. Now they have overcome that one. How they have overcome that one, miss? By using the K-means plus plus algorithm. Okay, and now we are not going to use the K-means algorithm. K-means algorithm is having a problem. We have to use the K-means plus plus algorithm. Now K-means plus plus algorithm, one of the major drawback in K-means clustering is random initialization of the centroids. The formation of clusters are closely bound to the initial position of the centroid. And the random initialization, it is going to form the wrong answers. Now the solution is K-means plus plus. Now what is meant by K-means plus plus? K-means plus plus is nothing but instead of going with a probability distribution, I am going with a weighted probability distribution. K-means, what is meant by mean? What is meant by K-means? K-means means mean. Mean, what is meant by mean? Mean means nothing but average. Whatever the number of data points are there, each data point you are going to add, divide by total number of data points. For example, 3 data points are there, means 3 data points you are adding and divide by 3. Means by default you are applying the arithmetic mean. Now I am not going to apply the arithmetic mean. I am going to apply the weighted mean. Instead of going with the arithmetic mean, I am going to take the weighted mean. What is meant by weighted mean? Means total number of data points surrounded to that cluster into the mean value. So weighted average, I am going to apply the Wi xi divided by sigma Wi. This formula I am going to apply. Instead of going with the instead of going with respect to this one, instead of applying this formula, now I am going to apply this formula. That is weighted mean. I told you during the descriptive statistics, weighted mean is one of the important concepts. One algorithm is getting dependent on the weighted mean. That is the reason I am explaining in the descriptive statistics very clearly. I have told you at that time. Do you remember? If you remember the weighted mean, miss, okay. If you don't remember, miss, you have to go through the back. Right? Now, weighted mean means nothing but it is going to take the weighted average. Means in this particular location, how many number of data points are there into that value. It is going to add with respect to like that. So the weighted mean will be considered into picture. Instead of going with the arithmetic mean, we are considering the weighted mean. That is the k-means plus plus algorithm. That is the meaning of k-means plus plus. Weighted mean. You have to consider instead of arithmetic mean, go with the weighted mean. That is the solution. Right? Now in the solution, based on this solution, now whatever the number of data points are low means, if wrongly classified, that number of data points are low means, it is going to change. Immediately it will change the value. The centroid changes means automatically data points changes. Right? Now, what is your assignment? After the class, take any data set as per your choice. One is age column and one is experience. Take any randomly 10 data points as per your choice. As per your choice, you write any 10 data points in your notes. Okay. For these 10 data points, what are the numbers you have given? For these 10 data points, you draw the scatter plot. 10 data points are there, right? 10 data points, draw the scatter plot like this. You know with how to draw the scatter plot, right? This is the first data point. For example, 22 and experience of 1 miss. Draw the first one wherever the x value is equal to 22. X value 22 and y value is equal to 1. Draw the point. Where age is 36 and years of experience is 5. Wherever the 36 is there, 36 and 5. Keep the data point. Like that, you keep all the data points. 10 data points you place on the scatter plot. Now, k is equal to 2. Randomly, you have to choose any 2 data points. Randomly, you choose your 2 data points, 0.1 and 0.2. Randomly, you choose. Choose with respect to the first one is 25 with the 3 years of experience, 26 with 4 years of experience. These two are your centroids. For these 2 data points, you calculate the distance. Okay. First record. Whatever the first record is there, that is 22, 1. First calculate the distance between these two. Now this record is close to this one or this record is close to this one? To which one it is close? Just you calculate, that is 22 minus 25 whole square plus 1 minus 3 whole square. Calculate the distance. Similarly, for this record, you calculate the distance to this centroid. That is square root of 22 minus 26 whole square plus 1 minus 4 whole square. If this is close to this one, means assign this one to C1. Name it as C1. If this is close to second one, means name it as C2. So whichever the C1 records are there, wherever the C1 records are there, now take the average of C1 records. Wherever the C2 are there, take the average of C2 records. That average, whatever the average you have got, that you take it here. Now then replace the new values with this. Whatever the average value you have got, replace with this. Now again recalculate. Again go back, again start the problem. Again calculate the C1. Again calculate the C1, C2. Again adjust the data points. Again calculate the C1, C2. Now before erasing whatever the C1 and C2 values are there, and after that also if the values are same, no changes in the values, means stop there. And cluster them. It is called as k-means clustering. Take any 10 data points and do the manual calculation. Okay, take any 10 data points as per your choice. If you have taken the data points with less values, means calculation you can do with mathematically easily. If you have taken 10,000, 20,000 like this, means it will take for you only to calculate more. But calculation remains same. Concept is same. For example, you are having education. Sir, education is there, sir. Now in the education, BTech, MTech, like this is there. Encode and calculate the difference. So BTech will be converted to 0, MTech will be converted to 1, and PhD is there, means that is 2. Encode that one using the label encoder. Okay, ordinal, if there is an order, miss ordinal encoder. If there is no order, miss label encoder. Apply the label encoder and calculate the distance. Is that clear? Sir, how I can do this? For example, BTech versus BSc. Which one is great? So if you don't know that one, for example, BTech, BSc and MBA, like this you are having. Whether BTech is great or MBA is great means replace the BTech with 16 years. because your education is 16 years of education, 10th class plus 2 years of intermediate plus 4 years of BTech. Wherever the BS is there, replace with 15. Wherever the MBA is there, replace with 15. Okay. Generally, MBA will be done based on the degree. Once the degree was completed, generally MBA will be done. After BTech also, we can do the MBA. So, for example, you are having the PhD. Some MTech is there. MTech you have to replace with 18. And calculate the distance. 18 minus 16 whole square. Right? Sir, I know the order, sir. Go with the ordinal encoding. If you know the order, miss, go with the ordinal encoding. If you don't know order, miss, just replace with their number of years of education. BTech means automatically 16. So just do the mapping. pd.map function is there, right? Use the mapping function, and wherever the BTech is there, replace with 16. Wherever the BS is there, replace with 15, like that. Right? Now, sir, some students will be doing the diploma, that is 10 plus 3. And then they will do the BSc, assume. Now their years of is equal to 16. Nah? They have not mentioned in the data set. So generally, which is the most common one is that will be constrained. Some one or two data sets, sorry, 1 or 2 records will be automatically different. Generally, mostly which is common one that we are going to apply. If they have clearly written that I have done the diploma and then I have done the degree, they have given in the data set clearly, miss, then we do accordingly. But they have not given in the data set, directly they have given the degree, means by default, we'll assume that after 10th and intermediate and degree. We'll not think in terms of diploma they have done and they have done the degree. We'll not think in this way. Okay. Is that clear? Just you can do the manual calculation. You can do the same thing in the coding also. Now I'm going to show you the coding.